again, remember, I mean, I know we're going down such a rabbit hole right now, but it's fun for us until we get started officially in how many minutes here. Word of mouth marketing, well, we're marketing is really 6 touch points, right? So they might get your mailer, they might hear from your friend Tarek, and all of a sudden they're like, someone might recommend, oh yeah, go see Dr. Tarek. Wait a second, I saw his postcard. They drive by, they see your sign, but that's just kind of the way it works. All of a sudden, people in my area are like, Ryan, I hear you from friends, I see your sign, I get your postcard. So that's the way it works. Again, for the postcard, you really want a one-to-one return, and we go into that in detail, right? Because then all of a sudden, they become general dentistry patients, and then they stay with you, and all of a sudden, a one-to-one return becomes a 2-to-1 or a 3-to-1. So it makes it exciting. Samira, I saw you nodding. You've had the same experience?
Yeah, I've actually not done any outside advertising yet because I want to get my protocols in place with the patients I have because they trust me. So if we, get something a little bit wrong, as in we don't follow up or something happens, they're not going to be as concerned. Whereas if it's a patient that's from outside, the way that they're looking in on my practice is very different than someone who's known me for a couple of years. So we're just going with the patients we have right now and getting everything streamlined. And then next year in spring, we're planning to really go for it, hopefully.
Good for you. That's it. For those of you who are just joining us, you're not missing anything. We're just having a friendly discussion amongst all of us. There's some of the docs that I've come to know over the past couple months. So nothing's officially started. So no one jump in and think that you're missing anything. We're just chit-chatting, waiting for the official start.
Yeah, and I would say too, just from my point of view, so I'll introduce myself in a minute. I know 2 of you, then Dr. Samira, I believe Elizabeth Stolgo, I know when she was sharing a lot of details around you. I'm not familiar with exactly how many larger providers are around you, but in my 5.5 years that I've been here, I've seen some practices, literally there were diamond plus providers, maybe 4, all within half a mile of each other. And what I really, noticed is, even if they were all, offering Invisalign and very top providers, the way in which they communicated with their patients, the brand reputation, their value, that there was differences between the 4 of them. So I would say the territory managers are always looking at okay, understanding your brand and the rest of the way that your practice works, right? It's different than orthodontics because it's one component of what you do in general dentistry. So the more that we understand your patient demographic, the types of patients that are currently in your practice, what's important to you and your team, then when we look at different marketing ideas and different things, there will always be differences between how we do that and our recommendations. So I would definitely, and I'm only speaking from the very, very competitive areas and geographies where literally one building, there could be you could pass 2 different, a diamond, a platinum, and a platinum plus provider, and they're all doing really well. It's because their patients have a sphere of influence of their friends and their family. And so when you have different markets and different communities, it's always good to kind of think of it that way.
Yeah.
There's plenty of fish in the sea.
There you go. That's right.
Again, it's enough to keep, unfortunately, keep some of those direct-to-consumer products going. So I guess that's the goal, is right, to take all that business. So put some of those direct consumers out of business. That would be awesome.
Yeah, I've seen really bad, you can lose a tooth by moving it, and you have periodontal disease and you have abscesses. But there has to be some control numbers. Not everybody can move their own teeth through bone and just pretend it's not like something you get from the Walmart, It shouldn't be.
Unfortunately, you can, though. That's our job, is to offer it up as an option. And obviously, we're starting to do that. At least all 1, 2, 3, 4 of us on this Zoom are starting to do that. And it's awesome. It's life-changing for us, for our families, for our employees, and for the patients, obviously. So it's great for everyone. Jim, talk to me. It's 1 minute before 7 o'clock. I love starting on time. Jim might want to make us hang out for a minute or 2. We have Trisha Rupert on. She's going to help co-host. We have Jim on. Jim is from our team. He's one of our team members at Moelis Coaching. He's going to help facilitate some of this conversation. We have 3 of the Moelis Coaching doctors on. We have Jeppy, Tarek, and Samira, and We'll have a nice conversation, roundtable discussion. I'm super excited for today. I don't mean to do the intro. I'm just going to do some filler until people come on. But stick till the end. I'm going to go over a clin check. You can kind of get in my mind and pick my brain. And then, Jim, when we walk through that clin check, you'll make everyone a panelist so people can just pepper me with questions. Again, I'm all about keeping it simple and easy. And hopefully we'll learn a lot today. And we are going to go over, I think, the big four today. Are we, Jim?
We are. Just a little refresher. We'll also point out a couple things that have been added to the course since a lot of the folks here have been with us for a little while, which is exciting, and a quick check-in on some social community posting as well, just a quick reminder. But yeah, why don't we're recording now. Jenna, do you mind kicking off the screen share to show the presentation? We can kind of do a little orientation and stuff. Look at that. Like a well-oiled machine.
I like it.
So let's hit the next slide, Jenna. So why don't we, Tricia, do you mind just doing a little bit of an introduction here for just kind of how this came together and why we wanted to do this? And then I can kind of orient for the broader picture too.
Yeah, absolutely. So, for those of you on the call, I noticed when I looked at the membership and when you all had joined, when each person had joined, it was various times. Some was last year, some was early this year, and everywhere in between. And really, one of the things that we're tasked with is, number one, so I am a regional manager for Align. I live right outside of Richmond, Virginia, and I have a team of 7. Some of you on the call work with those individuals. And I work with 4 other regional managers. And the geography that we consider to be the Mid-Atlantic area is Virginia, West Virginia, Ohio, Pennsylvania, DC, Maryland, and kind of basically that whole geography. So last year, I went to Summit in November, and I'd heard of Dr. Moelis from some peers across the country. And, I'd ask people, gosh, doctors always they're always asking us, what continuing education do you recommend? Or I need something for my team and I need this. And we were kind of taking a variety of different resources and saying, well, watch this for your team. And then, hey, here's a clinical course. And hey, here's this thing over here. And then, hey, let's work on some scripting and verbiage. And what we realized is we were kind of piecing together all these things. So the big thing that I heard from my peers was, wow, we've had a ton of success with doctors that have been certified for 15 years with Invisalign and never could get past 3 to 4 of their patients starting Invisalign treatment in a 3-month time period. And we had doctors enroll in this program, Moelis Coaching, and they just really took off. And so I called a bunch of different people, found out some more information. And ultimately, when I met Dr. Moelis last November and just picked his brain on a variety of things, I realized, wow, all of the things that doctors ask us about, like this is a coaching program that actually addresses every one of their needs. And the really cool thing that I love about this job is whether I'm in West Virginia or if I'm in Loudoun County, the wealthiest county in America, it doesn't matter. Everybody's challenges are the exact same. So every challenge I heard the first 3 months here literally have just repeated over 5.5 years. There's been nothing new. So the goal for tonight is that we have about 170-ish doctors in the Mid-Atlantic that are part of Moelis Coaching. And some just joined, some joined earlier this year, last year, as I mentioned before. But the way in which they've leveraged Moelis Coaching is all very different. It's the same coaching program, but they pull different pieces. So our goal is the 3 doctors that are on the panel today, and I'll let them introduce themselves too. Our goal is that you leave this call saying to yourself, wow, there's a couple things that I hadn't looked into yet. Or, I thought I heard about this Facebook Live, monthly thing, but I'd never participated before. Or, I'm not on Facebook. I've never been on Facebook, but, I can join just to have access to that. And then also get a sneak peek at what's to come. So our goal, as always, whether it's, you own an iTero, we want you to maximize it. You invest in Moelis Coaching. We see amazing things happen with doctors that really engage in the content. And so our hope is that you leave here and you find one more nugget, one more pearl, one more thing that you can just add into your repertoire and become even more successful over the next couple months than you are leading into this call. So thank you so much for joining. I appreciate it. I find you get better information from your peers. So I thought it'd be great to have 3 people that are in your shoes every single day joining the panel today. So thank you.
So Dr. Tarek, maybe if you could lead us off, just kind of where you're at, how many cases you're doing on an annual basis currently, and any other basic background about your practice, then we can kind of talk to Jeppy and Samira as well.
Well, I practice in Sterling, Virginia. I started doing, my average is 5 cases a quarter, 4 cases a quarter. And I started Moelis coaching at the end of June of 2020. And I had the intentional meeting with my team around that time. And in Q3, I started 19 cases. And I think I'm on track to do the same this quarter. So I'm doing numbers I didn't think I would do before. I was always aspiring to do those numbers, but I just realized when I took Moelis coaching that the intentionality and having the whole team believe in your vision and actively helping you achieve your goals, that's what made the difference to me.
Perfect. And we'll dig a little bit deeper on that in a little bit. But Jeppy, if you could give us a quick introduction on yourself as well.
Sure. I'm from Fredericksburg, Virginia. I practice with my father. We have a fee-for-service practice here right in downtown Fredericksburg. I had gotten certified in Invisalign, obviously in dental school, which was almost 10 years ago now, hard to believe. But I had only done very few cases, and Ryan, my local rep here in Virginia, had suggested that I really look into the Moelis coaching program. And once I kind of dove in, I really liked what I saw online, and so I signed up at the beginning of this year, and it's been great. I have seen a tremendous, agree with what Tarek has said, kind of really getting the whole team behind you and using the online platform, the Facebook community, all aspects of it, the essentials, ClinCheck essentials. That was big for me, and just understanding and feeling more confident in how to take on some maybe more challenging cases than I had always kind of referred to the orthodontist. So it's been going great. I have more than quadrupled my caseload. I'm making a surge here towards the end of the year. I think I'm currently sitting in the Gold Plus category, but I hope to keep rolling. So it's been wonderful. So I really appreciate everything.
Thanks, Jeppy. Samira, can we get a quick introduction from you as well, and then I'll do a little bit more orientation for the rest of the presentation.
Yeah, sure. My name's Samira. I practice in Havertown, Pennsylvania. The team and I, we started working with Moelis coaching, I would say sometime last year, but we really got on board, I think, after COVID, like after the pandemic, we stopped everything, and then we started up again because I had 3 months to kind of envision where I wanted to be with my practice. And I think Invisalign was a big part of that. So I spent a lot of time kind of doing all the content on Moelis and getting myself very familiar with it, so that when we start back up, we have a good start. And we went from just silver, so I was close to bronze and just into silver in June. And we are hopefully going to be platinum by December. That's the goal. So we have a couple more cases. And a lot of it is just teamwork, leadership, and the content on Moelis. It's made such a big difference in our practice. For me, for the staff, and just how we introduce Invisalign to our patients. So yeah, thanks Dr. Moelis and the team.
Well, thanks.
It's been great.
So just, Jenna, if you could take us to the next slide, we'll do a little bit more orientation and we'll jump into this roundtable. We are super excited to have you guys all here. As Tricia mentioned, there are many folks who've been in the program for a number of months, close to a year even. And Tricia was kind enough to organize one of our most successful PACE programs, which was really exciting to execute as well. But we really thought it'd be a great idea to get back together and refresh on some of the things that make the program really stand out, make it most effective. And we want to kind of highlight some of those things today, in particular with the roundtable conversation, but also just some highlights of what's coming up there. We're always adding new content. Dr. Ryan's always recording new stuff. And we're super excited for what's already come out and what we have scheduled for the next couple of months, which is going to be some great new additions to the curriculum. So we'll give you a sneak peek on that. And we also want to make sure that everybody sees what's available in the online members only community. So we'll take a quick look over there in case you have any issues getting to that content. We want to point out some highlights for how to get past recordings and other aspects that are going up there. And again, just make sure that everybody's comfortable getting onto the Facebook Lives that are happening monthly also. So we're super excited to share some of that. And then also as kind of a refresher, we'll hit the big four, which is a big part of what we like to talk about in the early stages of the program, especially as you're just starting, because these four key tenets are the things that will really transform how you're looking at your practice on a day-to-day basis and how you're affecting your ability to close and successfully deliver on cases. So we're excited to share that as well. So, and as Ryan mentioned at the top of the hour, make sure that you do stay for the end, because that we'll be doing a full ClinCheck treatment review, which we're excited to share, and that has been submitted by one of our members here today. And additionally, we've got the panelists currently available to video, but once we shift into the ClinCheck process, we'll pull everybody through. So anybody and everybody can talk, have a big conversation about what Dr. Mullis is showing us, and we're super excited always to have that conversation. Some of you are already providing some comments in the chat. Feel free to continue that. We would love to have the conversation in chat as we're having the roundtable discussion. Any questions that might come up as we're bringing up different topics, drop them in there and we'll kind of cover up on those. And I think with that, we can kind of jump into a little bit of conversation if you guys are up for it. Jenna, if you wouldn't mind. Oh, there we go. So kind of make this a jump ball. If we could talk a little bit about what you guys were expecting kind of before you joined the program, maybe, you know, related to other things you had either tried or just kind of preconceptions about something that might have been a little bit unknown to you as Mullis coaching, or, you know, what your rep had said to perhaps set expectations. Samara, maybe we could start with you just to kind of get the ball rolling.
Yeah, I thought, to be honest with you, I thought it was going to be more of the same. So I've been to a lot of the Invisalign CEs, and I always found that I got very different ideas from all of them. So I didn't have one clear path, and that always confused the heck out of me. And that's one of the reasons why we didn't really implement it in the office, because I didn't feel confident in what I was telling my staff and therefore not my patients. So the difference in Mullis was it just goes boom, 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 and you follow that path and you can't really go wrong. And I think we found that in our office. So I love the fact that it was just consistent. Felt like there was a consistent message throughout, and it was just easy, you know, and it's not long, it's not hours of videos. It's I set myself a Friday, and I thought I'd be sitting there for hours just doing like a chapter, and it was like 5 minutes and the lesson's over, and you know, and you do 3 lessons and you go take a break. So it's just easy. It just fits really well in being, you know, an Invisalign provider, but then also being a mom, being, you know, a business owner. Like, you can just go in, do a bit, and move away from it. So yeah, it really works for me.
Samara, I love the fact how you said that, you know, this is like one clear path. So it took me, again,
Yeah.
If you're on this call and you even dove into the videos, actually dive in what they're 8 to 10 minutes. But the reason we did this, you know, I'm like you. I went to 16 states to take in 3 countries to get all kinds of, and I snuck in ortho courses. So if there's any Align reps on this call, please do not bust me out. But I snuck an orthodontic course to try to find out one way to make it simple, because obviously the more that you get to know me, I always say there's nothing about me that makes me special. So if I can do 500 to 600 cases a year out of a 4-hour practice, so can you. And we have docs that are doing it. You just have to watch the videos and kind of learn. It took us 1.5 years to build it. We put a lot of time and effort into this. And I'm glad you noticed it, but it is streamlined. We try to make it easy. So my message to you is if you haven't started engaging and watching the videos, hang tight because we're going to go over the big 4. And I know Jim mentioned that. And these are 4 things, honestly, that you can do in your practice tomorrow to really get 2 starts a week just from these 4 things that we're going to talk about in a little bit. Jim? I don't know if Jim's frozen or not. Jim might be
Yeah, I
frozen.
know he was going to go towards Dr. Moss, if you don't mind sharing. I mean, I wasn't sure what Ryan told you about what to expect and kind of when it happens. Ironically, I remember you were on a call we had in February with Dr. Garcia. And Dr.
Yes.
Garcia was a doctor in Baltimore that had tremendous success. And I remember you asking a lot of questions because you were kind of in that state of like, is this real? Is this not? Like, what does this doctor think? And you enrolled shortly thereafter, kind of hearing his story. So, outside of that call, what was your expectations or, what did you gain? Maybe that was different than what you thought?
Sure. You're exactly right. Great memory, by the way. That was a very impactful call for me as I was kind of really evaluating whether or not I was going to 100% dive in. And after talking with Dr. Garcia and listening to everything that went on in the call, it was a no-brainer to me. I think kind of what Samara had said earlier, I was really looking for a program that was all-encompassing, but not overwhelming, and also that was feasible. And when I say feasible, I talk about getting having the appropriate time. Ryan just mentioned most videos are 8 to 10 minutes. Gaining clinical knowledge, but also how to market the brand, how to incorporate the team. It's a seamless, roadmap. I hate to, not trying to steal your term at all there, Ryan, but it's so true. If you follow what he says in the videos, and I love the sheer honesty and being forthcoming about mistakes, learning curves, right way to do it, what's worked, what's not worked. It's just that's probably been one of the most impactful things to me about the whole program is I really feel comfortable in what I've learned and being able to access everybody here on this call and the Facebook community. And so I don't think there's anything else out there available like that. And maybe there is, but I certainly haven't seen it. So kudos to Ryan and the whole team. My expectations now, I have a ton of confidence, and I'm really excited for next year as I feel like I've kind of laid the groundwork throughout this year to hopefully really just skyrocket next year. So that's kind of my feedback there.
Debbie, I'll tell you, I love the fact that you brought up about learning from my mistakes. It took me 200 cases to find out that an upper lateral needs to derotate an extra 6 degrees more. And my job, I think, is to fast forward your learning curve so you figure out how to not get a posterior open bite. So I'm glad that you caught that referring to some of those videos. A lot of it is not like this. It's like, listen, it took me a long time to figure this out. Learn from my mistakes, let's fast forward. Even when we talk about marketing, right?
Yeah.
I spent $30,000-$40,000 that paid me back $500. And I'm like, okay, here's what I did. It did not work, but $1,000 that paid me back $50,000. So I share that as well. So that's, we're all here to help each other, and that's just cool. But, I'll tell you, it leads up to the next question, which I'm going to throw to Tarek, because I know Tarek's in that Facebook community a lot. To me, I'll be honest with you, Jeffy, that's like one of my most favorite and most proud things when Scott, my business partner, when we decided to launch Mold's Coaching and get a doctors only Facebook community. Like, what's it going to be? He's like, ideally we envision docs asking, 3-4 questions a day to everyone helping. Now we're getting 15 to 20 questions a day. I'll answer, Matt Hicks will answer, but a lot of other docs like Tarek will answer. And some people just sit in the background, but even that alone to me is the most exciting because I think you have docs that have done, we all start at zero. You have docs that have done 0, 1, 2 cases that dive in and they learn. You also have docs that have done 100 cases. Tarek, talk to me about the community because you're on there a lot.
Well, what I love about this community, it's a lot of positive energy. We're supporting each other there. So as you said, somebody asks a question, the answers, you can learn a few things from many people that answer those questions. And it's fun. You learn multiple things, clinical and leadership, management. It's a fun community.
Yeah, it's when you said positive, like to this day, I don't know if you've ever had any negative comments on there. Everyone is just super supportive. I think we all get excited to see each other grow and hit the next goals, but it's true. We talk about marketing, we talk about the team, we obviously talk about clinical a lot too. And it's kind of neat to get other people's ideas of, even yesterday we had someone talk about maybe lining up the gingival margins or should you intrude, should you not, and people kind of go back and forth. Do we crown after, do you not crown after, do you just do occlusal equilibration? So it's kind of neat to see everyone's take on it, I love that.
Yeah.
We'll actually step over to the community to give a quick tour in a few minutes, but Samara, any comments about kind of conversations you've been engaged with or just watching on the community over there?
Yeah, I was a bit late to the Facebook community. I always wanted to get on. I'm probably, Ryan, like you said, probably one of the people who sits in the background and kind of just watches what's going on. But that's worked for me. I have posted a couple of times when I've been stuck and I'm like, you know what, let me put this on. Maybe it will get a bite. And straight away, people have got back to me with, why don't you do it like this? You could do this. And so it's been really helpful. Yeah, it's been good.
For me, I guess that's the one, if you're on this call, I guess there's two things. One, watch the videos, but two, get in the Facebook community because it's just so much engagement there and it's just so much learning going on. I think it's just phenomenal. And I think sitting in the background, you don't have to be type A, be out there, be, responding every day and asking questions. You can just sit back there and learn a lot and it's neat.
Yeah. Yeah.
We're always a little wary of this question, but we're curious to just kind of get a sense from you guys. What was the one standout piece of learning or lesson? We're often asked, what's the one thing I should do? And we'll always say, well, it's like going to the gym. You can't just do one exercise. You got to do the full program. But if you were to kind of answer that first blush, what was the one thing that stood out? But then maybe tell us a little bit about kind of how that worked in with everything else that you had going on. Tarek, if you could maybe start us off on that.
I guess what's the best piece of advice you give to a newly enrolled doctor would be to be intentional about it. Set clear goals, set a vision, get your team's backing, and have systems, implement systems. Have the systems will help you scale quicker and makes everything organized and easier on you and your staff, like seeing the ortho coverage on the schedule just at a glance, or having everything ready by the dental assistants, for example, or having the flow of the DA, the office manager, the doctor speech. Just implementing the system would help a lot in getting good results.
I love how you say implementing the systems because when I really started exploding the Invisalign is when I sat with my team, I shared the goals, and I made it very intentional, and that allowed me to stop doing oral surgery and to stop doing root canals. So all I do is fillings, crowns, and Invisalign. I mean, I'll be honest with you, my life is freaking easy. I don't have to deal with blood. Everyone here can judge me like, Brian, you don't place implants. No, I don't stress at all. Honestly, as a general dentist, my back feels better. It's awesome. And to get away from doing things that honestly suck, in my mind, to the things that are fun. And think about it, Tarek, my patients walk in now and they're excited to see me, as opposed to
worried about needles.
Yeah,
and-
I mean, when someone's in pain, it's so great for me. I'll bill out an emergency exam and a PA, and I send them to a specialist. I mean, it's so simple. Jeffy, what about you?
I love that. I would kind of have to second what Tarek said. I think going back to the whole roadmap, for me, the standout lesson is that what you've organized and put together just builds confidence. And I think it builds confidence in so many different areas in different ways that it then enables you to really dive in or grasp conceptually the ability to take Invisalign to the next level in your practice. And I think that's the key. And at least for me, feeling comfortable and confident in what I was explaining to the patient, no matter whether it's something clinical about tooth movement or if it's just conceptual and how Invisalign can benefit them, whatever it may be. The verbal skills and everything that you have outlined in your educational videos and circling back to just the whole picture, that's a standout lesson for me. And that's what really made me feel like, okay, I'm really doing the right thing here by joining this program and, making the investment and spending the time. So I'd say that the roadmap, for sure.
Cool. Samara?
For me, it was my staff, because until I got them on board, nothing was going to work. It doesn't matter how much I talked about Invisalign. So as soon as I incentivized them, and I kind of felt weird about incentivizing people. I'm from England. We don't do tips. We don't give out and stuff. And so to have to pay for them to do their job is a bit strange. In the beginning, it works. Like everybody is on it in the mornings, because they want to make that $100. They really want that pot of money at the end, and it worked for us. Everybody is educating the patients. Everybody is making sure they get the scans in. They're doing all that work so I can go in and talk about Invisalign. And without that part, I won't be able to do what I'm doing. So definitely the incentivizing staff.
Besides the fact that I freaking love your accent, I love the fact that you brought up the staff. And with me, again, and everyone knows on this call, right? I work out of 2 operatories out of a 4-op practice. In 1 op, I'm just doing my restorative. So I'm just doing my crowns and my fillings. In the other op is my assistant, and they're pretty much doing all the Invisalign. I'm in my Invisalign room for only 5 minutes every time. And that's what we talk about. So again, I always say dive in the videos, but learn, because if your assistant's doing the speeches, helping out with the attachments, I walk in there and I'm like, how you doing?
Yeah.
And I thought, what are you going for the weekend? I just chit chat back in the room and I finish drilling. I can never scale, and the fact that you recognize that, you cannot scale without your team. And so
Definitely.
incentivizing them it really does work. I love it.
We often get this question, just like, people are looking for just a simple answer, right? If you could address kind of docs, I think we've got a couple of these questions actually queued up. Like, what was it that got the caseload to take off? Like, how would you describe that? Is it what we've talked about? Is there anything that stands out in particular?
The question. Every patient should be asked the question. Does the crown of your lower teeth bother you? Would you like to have your straighter teeth? Just ask the question. No pressure. Nobody likes to be pressured. As Ryan says, if a patient says no, just mark it. Nobody wants to be pressured. But just ask the question. And many times I would ask the question and I wouldn't think that the person would want to go to Invisalign. But they actually get excited and they're looking forward to it, because what we're giving them is something desirable. Straight white teeth. It's something attractive. So,
But Tarek, expound on that. I mean, honestly, how often, and again, thank you for saying that. How often, honestly, a week, you walk in there and you ask someone that you're blown away that someone's like, actually, yeah, I want to talk about it, right?
yeah, and I wouldn't expect that person to be into Invisalign or wanting to do Invisalign, but they actually get excited. I took care of my kids, now I want to take care of myself. I hear things like that.
And here's what happens. So say Jeppy's your neighbor and Jeppy sends them a postcard. They're interested in Invisalign. That patient then goes to Jeppy for an Invisalign consult because you never mentioned it. And all of a sudden you lost that patient and maybe that family. Again, that's how I built up both of my practices. So what you're doing is you're giving a treatment that now these patients are really seeking out. And if you don't mention, because a lot of, and plus, Jarek, how many times do you ever say to someone, are you interested in Invisalign? And they say, but I'm 60. I didn't know I could have that. Oh, I can? They get all excited. Or I have a root canal. Or I have crowns, right? A lot of patients think that they're not a candidate for it, right?
Right, yeah, absolutely. And yeah, they don't know what they don't know. And the success, or it shows you there's a big demand for it by the direct consumer brands. All these patients should have a dentist, and all these patients should have an exam, and they have the potential to have their Invisalign done with us to have a better result. So yeah, there's so many people looking for straight white teeth, and we just need to get those people in and do it the right.
Like we talk about, it's not a big, long speech. It's just that one sentence that we talk about all the time in the videos, and it just works. That's how, that's how we do it.
So Dr. Ryan, I want to be careful with time here. Do you mind if we advance a little bit? We'll keep the panel with us and we can continue the conversation as we
sure.
go. So Jenna, if you could move us forward real quick.
Yeah, and Samira, I would just have a real quick question too. I know one of the things that you had shared is you're one of the biggest things that we're seeing right now is I think most of the people on the phone, if not all, have an iTero, right? And one of the things that I think stood out when talking with Liz regarding a lot of your success is just around kind of increasing that dental health scan and really focusing on, you think about your hygienists, your dental assistants, they didn't get into dentistry to be salespeople. And so many doctors will share, like when they start to look at going from 0 to increasing those dental health scans, their team kind of rallies behind the like, oh, I'm educating, I'm helping these patients. Now they can see something. So if you don't mind, right before we go into this, can you just share like how you implemented that? Because I think every day I'm asked that by doctors is, I'm going to get resistance or my team's not on board, I'm nervous. So if you don't mind sharing that.
Absolutely. So today I actually have a story from a patient today who accepted Invisalign. So she came in, she hates her night guard. We gave her a night guard a year ago before molars. So we gave her a night guard. She came in, she said, I absolutely hate it. I'm never going to wear it again. So I had another look at her and I had the staff do a dental health scan. That's what we call it in the office. We did the scan. I showed her the occlusal gram to show her like how her bite is. And just by showing that to her, she was on board. We didn't have to do much else. And it's funny, when she was leaving, she said, Doc, can you leave my rotated canine? I like it the way it is. And don't turn that. And I'm like, yay, I don't have to turn a canine. I don't have to turn it. And so I said, yeah, sure, I can do that. She said, I'm just concerned about the dental health of my teeth, and I want them to last, and I know that the chipping and breaking. And I could have told her that, but showing her, I just said, if you see red, yellow, or brown on the iTero, that's not good. And before I say that, I tell them that, and then I put it on, and they're like, holy crap, there is a ton of red, yellow. And I'm like, look at this is not good. And it's true. I mean, that's, it's easy for them to see it when we show it to them and just make it easy. And the iTero has done that for us. It's been amazing.
Intraoral for,
I'm sorry?
it's kind of like an intraoral camera when you're showing a chipped tooth or a cracked
It
tooth.
is.
It's easy to sell a crown when you show them a broken part of the tooth. Same thing with the iTero.
Yeah, but it just has a lot more of a wow factor, know, and that's the other thing. Patients think that because you have an iTero, you are invested in your practice and you are doing stuff that they're not seeing anywhere else. So that puts you in a different league compared to everybody else around you if they're not doing it. And in my area, there aren't many doctors who are doing it. So just that is a business builder in itself. Yeah.
Yeah. No, thanks for sharing that. Like I said, it's something that I get asked every day, and so I appreciate you sharing.
Yeah.
Jim, you want me to touch on this really quick?
Yeah, if you would, a lot of these topics have been kind of hid in the
They
lead-up
have been.
conversation, so that's a
This
good
is-
sign.
Right. So listen, if you don't know these four, then dig in and make your team aware of this. And tomorrow you can text me or throw it on a Facebook community. Hey, thanks to everyone on that call because this is life changing for me, and this will. So Tarek mentioned this. Every patient is an Invisalign prospect. So I do. And that's the very first way that you're going to start growing your practice. So whether it's in my restorative, especially hygiene, and I do ask my hygienist, which will go to number 3 right now, to lead with the simple conversation. And again, the conversation is, does the crowding of your teeth bother you? If so, we could have Dr. Moss talk to you about Invisalign. And that's just what my hygienist says. Everyone comes up, Ryan, doing 500 cases a year out of a 4-hour practice, these are the 4 things that are really the backbone of it. So view every patient, have your hygienist lead with a simple conversation. Again, it's just marketing. Let that hygienist drop that hint to them. And then we talk about documenting, how to document it in the notes. Check ortho coverage. If you're not doing this, this is just a game changer. For those of us in the United States, because we have a lot of Canadians that it's different here. We have roughly 10% of our patients have adult ortho coverage. So think about it. If you see 40 people a day, that's 4 people a day that are going to have adult ortho coverage. You should get about half of those to start. That's 2 starts a day, times 4 days a week. That's 8 starts a week, 32 starts a month. And that's just by having your office manager check. And it's funny, I don't know, Tarek or Jeppy or Samara, if you see on the Facebook community, because every now and then a new doc will say, hey guys, is it really worth my office manager calling the insurance company? And all of a sudden you'll see like 25 doctors go, you have to do it. Absolutely, yes. And that's just one of those things. I'm really not black and white in my practice as far as like must or not must, but in this situation, if my office manager said, yeah, I don't want to do that, no. This is a absolute must. You have to call. And it's worth, again, we dive into this, but it's worth that phone call just to be able to present it. And then you offer it up to the patient again, make sure, do you know what? If you switch insurance next year, the chance of you having adult ortho coverage is about less than 10%. So if you've ever considered doing Invisalign, now would be the time to do it. And you'd be shocked at the patients that it works for. I'll let Tarek or Jeppy or Samara just comment on number 2. Has that worked for you guys?
It surely has, absolutely, yeah. And we have preset treatment proposals with whatever number of ortho coverages there are, which makes it even quicker and easier with the authorization form that you have in the course. And yeah, it helps. Even if somebody wants to go back home and think about it, when they call, we can start even when they're not there, because we already have the scan, we already have the pictures.
Yep.
It definitely is worth it. It helps.
And I'll talk about the 4-minute consult. Again, we watched, it took, so I've been doing this 19 years. I'll age myself at 45, and it was 19 years. In the first 5, 6, 7 years, it took me a while to kind of figure out, how am I doing this consultation? Now memorize it, right? It's in the curriculum, memorize that 4-minute speech. And here's why. And Samara, you kind of alluded to it earlier about incentivizing your team. When I did not incentivize my team, I would do the 4-minute consultation. It would be 7 o'clock, time to go home, and you get the eye roll, and do we really have to stay?
Yeah.
And now, because we do that bonus pool that we talk about, I do the 4-minute consultation. So I walk into hygiene. Oh, Dr. Molis, John's interested in talking about Invisalign. Everything's set up. I do a 4-minute consultation speech. Again, memorize it, make it your own. But again, it hits all the high spots. So when they're done, they might only have one question. And my assistant is setting up the iTero. My front desk has the treatment plan ready. Literally, by the time I am starting my conversation, that patient could be out of my office in 9 minutes, because you got the 3-minute scan, 2-minute pictures, treatment plan's done, and everyone shares in that bonus. Again, that bonus pool, which we're not even talking about tonight, because that could be number 5, is huge, because it's almost like a dance that happens in my practice. And when you get everyone on board with the same vision and everyone's incentivized for every start, it just works. And so those, Jim, are the big four. So if y'all haven't been in the curriculum, get in there, but memorize that 4-minute consultation speech. It'll just make your life a lot easier. Because again, the whole point of this is not bringing the patient back. Because if they leave and you schedule them 2 weeks out, Jeffy's going to send your patient a postcard in the mail, and they're going to go see Jeffy instead, and you just lost your start.
Yeah, so quick question too. So one of the things I noticed also is, right, you guys are completely different markets, but the other similarity that I saw was verbiage and tweaking stuff to make it your own, right? So using the resources that Dr. Mullis created, taking it down, identifying what you want to tweak and change, but involving, team members. So my question is, how did you, so if your team has been doing things a certain way for X amount of time, and then you have your meeting and you say, okay, hey, these are my goals. This is what I want to do. This is how we're going to do it. And you involve them. What was your process about actually implementing it, making it where they felt comfortable and they felt good with doing something different? Like, what was your strategy that helped?
Tricia, can I answer this first before we go on?
Yeah, please.
So remember, I have two practices, two completely different areas. One is a pretty affluent area. One is one of the poorest areas, and I still out of that office that is very low income. We still do around 220 cases a year. When I bought the practice, it had carpeting on the floor. So imagine how you clean up blood off of that. It was disgusting. But I'm telling you, my first practice I bought had a staff that was there for 10 years. My second practice, I implemented a whole brand new staff, and it worked in both. So within the first 6 months of buying my second practice in the low-income area, we did 100 cases, but that's because it was implementing the systems and sharing in the goals. I guess the way I would answer this question is, if you say to your team, listen, I want to rock out Invisalign, let's everyone get on the same page, everyone work a little bit harder so I could buy a nice vacation home, it just doesn't work that way. But if they're incentivized, if they're on the same page as you, so with my dental assistants, I'll be honest, my dental assistants stand up proud because they have such responsibility, but they get paid for that responsibility. When you treat your team member as an equal and you reward them verbally, but you also reward them monetarily, there's a sense of pride that comes with that, right? As opposed to, what do you do for a living? Oh, I just sit there and suction spit when doctor drills. It's not like that at all in my practice. And my assistants just really, I couldn't do a third of the cases without them. So that's the way that it works in my practice.
Yeah, no, and I love that you shared that. And part of where I'm going with this is when you guys shared earlier, I think about Dr. Turek and Dr. Samara, one of the things I noticed is you both implemented stuff like after COVID, right? So a lot of things that when we talk with I shouldn't say after COVID, but I mean after the shutdown, right? When you literally had 2 to 3 months of not being able to do anything. So the big thing that we get asked about is, well, now that I have different team members and I've got new people and I'm asking them to do different things, it's challenging. So the fact that you both have implemented something after that during the time of transition and change was pretty impressive for me to kind of hear that. So I thought maybe some members on the phone that could be in the similar shoes of not wanting to rock the boat of a hygienist or a dental assistant and change things when there's already kind of a heightened level of a little bit of fear by team members. So any tips that you can have kind of in the environment that we're in right now, I think could be beneficial to your peers.
I think it's beneficial for patients to have teeth in the right position. It's healthier for them not to have wear, not to have fractions. So it's good for the patient, and it's also good for them. The Invisalign pool is great. So it puts the whole team together. They're working together for one common goal, and they believe that's for the good of the patient, and to do a procedure that's less stressful and fun, so patients are happy to see us as a team. And also, which is very big, the assistants. I also have the second column Invisalign, and I know I don't like to double book. I don't like to have a second column, but the second column for Invisalign is fine because my assistant does everything. I'm there just to do IPR, maybe every now and then, there to say hi, or the initial doctor speech, but my assistants, they do take pride in, they're like providers. They're bringing the patient back, they're talking to them, they're educating them. It makes them proud of what they're doing, they're getting paid well. And they bonus every 2 weeks. They bonus well. This month they bonus really well, and I'm happy that they're bonusing well. If we're all doing well, and you spend a lot of time with that team, so it's like another family for you.
You know what, and just to add on to that, Trisha and Tarek, you know, I have my dental assistants that come to me honestly after COVID, like, listen, Ryan, I gotta thank you because you do pay us well. I pay my assistants well because of Invisalign. I mean, that's it. That's my bread and butter. So I can afford to pay medical insurance. I can afford to do a 401k. It's because of Invisalign that listen, it's going to change my life and my family's life. It's going to change my staff's life. Also, the aura. When I used to do root canals, I got to be honest, I was not the most pleasurable person to be around. I got to tell you, you know, it would just like, you could just sense the stress. Now I walk in, I'm like, hey, what's going on, everybody? It's great. It's easy. It's fun. It does, Tarek, right? You got to be honest. It
Number
does.
15 on a fat cheek and low accessibility is not fun.
No, man, it changes everything. It's cool.
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely.
Dr. Ryan, I want to be careful with time here. Do you mind if we shift gears to that check, and if we have time, and Trisha, I'm more than happy to do a follow-up where we can do send some information about the new material coming and more details on the community, but I do want to be cool since we have Ryan now.
Yeah, no, I think that's good. I think it's smart. We can go to the ClinCheck. I think that's always a great learning. People have a lot more kind of aha moments during that. So I think that's great. And then maybe what we can do, Jim, is you and I can connect tomorrow and maybe just kind of create a cheat sheet. I think the real goal is just when doctors miss that Facebook Live, just or once it's passed, it's like, how do I access that later? And so even if there's just a couple bullet points of here's what's coming, then we can make sure we close the loop with the doctors on the call with that afterwards too.
Jenna or
So
Jim, let me share the
good.
screen, Jenna. I'm going to share my screen. Here we go. So if everyone, listen, I'll take questions from anybody. I know Mike Barton, this is his case. If he wants to come off
I'll
mute,
pull everybody through.
yeah, and hang out. I don't know if it's going to take a while. You want me to start talking? You want me to wait? But I can start right now if you don't want, just to respect everyone's time. Everyone see my screen?
Yep.
Yep.
All right, here we go. So this patient came in with an initial chief complaint, I'm assuming, of the diastema. And if Mike ever want to come off mute, that's fine. If not, I got this.
I'll get him.
It's fine. So this is how Invisalign set it up. And by the way, the one thing I want you to take away is never just hit accept and accept a ClinCheck right off the bat, because it'll just lead to nightmare result. Exciting news. And if you attended our last Facebook Live, which was a deep dive into attachments, that's huge. I actually rewatched that one. We had Mike Flanagan on, who's got the fancy name of Global right in front. He's a global guy who was an integral part of developing some of the new ClinCheck 6.0, and he's been an integral part of deep diving into attachments. So we did about an hour and a half deep dive into all the attachments. So if you have not watched that, it's definitely worth watching that Facebook Live, because that way you will know what every single one of these attachments is and what it does. And that will be in the ClinCheck roadmap. I'll probably hold Jim to this, probably by Monday or Tuesday. So we'll have a little cheat sheet on all the attachments for you and their functions and what they do. Pretty much all the slides, plus a little bit meatier. But here's the one. Let's go over this really quick. So do not mesialize. This is the one thing I noticed, right? So when you hit play and you notice 13 and 14, so you got some sequential mesialization going on here. This will happen, this will happen, this will not happen. To move number 14 mesially, one, without elastics. Two, you have these three huge roots moving through the bone. Is that really going to happen? Absolutely not. The tooth will just tip right up, even with that attachment on there. So I wanted to keep that tooth still. here's the deal, and I hope I'm respecting HIPAA here, but her chief complaint, I'm assuming, is not moving this tooth forward in the gap. Her chief complaint is changing her smile and giving her a prettier, wider, straighter smile and closing that diastema. So I do not want to stress about moving this tooth forward because it's going to take probably double the amount of trays. And I'll show you what the ClinCheck looked like after I modified it. Move number 3, facially 0.75 millimeters more. Reason being, expansion is very, I say expansion, is very predictable with Invisalign. Now we know with the new optimized deep bite attachment, which we did switch to, and just so we're staying on the same page, I'll show you the end, what I'm talking about when I say an optimized deep bite attachment. That's this guy, right? So it could look as like an optimized retention attachment, but that's what an optimized deep bite attachment is. With this flat part right here, we know if you can grip that tooth, you will get a little bit of translation. Now they have new attachments coming out, the G8, which are going to have more of an effect of some actual translation and not just tipping. But if you don't have an optimized deep bite attachment on a posterior tooth that's expanding, you absolutely are just tipping the crowns. That's an absolute fact. So that's the one takeaway from this optimized deep bite attachment, and you'll get a little bit of translation. What you see on the ClinCheck, you're only going to get about 50% of expansion on the ClinCheck. And again, refer to that ClinCheck roadmap. Again, these are things that have taken me, 100 plus cases to find out. And it's almost like a cheat sheet, that ClinCheck roadmap. There's 4 extra common movements. I already talked about one of them earlier. Number 1 is expansion. Number 2 would be the derotation of the lateral. So that's 2 of the most common movements that you have to really overdo on a ClinCheck to get a nice, predictable outcome. And again, this is just like riding a bike. And people that are in our ClinCheck support group, all of a sudden they say after 4 months, 5 months, Ryan, you're doing the same thing every time. I'm like, well, yeah, why would I make it harder on myself? You figure out what works, and you just stick to it. You don't have to make this harder. It's not rocket science. Just figure out a way, stick with one simple way. And again, no munchies, no accelerators, just trust the plastic, and we do some amazing things. And it's neat seeing other docs in our community share some of those amazing successes with all of us. So it's kind of fun. All right, what else do we have here? We are going to get these teeth out of crossbite. That is predictable. Usually we can fix 1 or 2 tooth posterior crossbite. These are almost edge to edge. The fact that number 14 is a little bit already facial, I have 0 problem moving these teeth buccally, and that absolutely will happen. IPR 0.2 millimeters to 0.9. Remember, whenever you have a diastema, do 0.2 millimeter IPR. I only perform IPR if it is 0.3 millimeters or more, so that 0.2 millimeter IPR is fake. It's fake IPR. So if we look at the original ClinCheck, this is what the original was. So I move most of my IPR always to the posterior, right? I think there's 3 reasons I do that. Number 1 would be thicker enamel in the back. Number 2, and this is one of those things where I say it took me about 100 cases to find out. I would finish a case, it would be perfectly straight. And I look at a woman's teeth who's 25 years old, and I see, man, they look like piano keys. Because you kind of just shave, you're taking away that nice, feminine, round shape of the front teeth. If you put the IPR in the back, you're not messing with their smile zone. 3rd reason, when you go to IPR someone in the front, they look at you like you're insane. Like, what are you doing to my front teeth? Every single time I IPR in the back, I might get questioned about it once every 200 times. I say, I'm just gonna make some spaces in the back of your teeth to make some room to put your teeth in a more ideal position. Okay, and that's it every time. Okay, no big deal. But when you go in the front teeth, it becomes a big deal. So those are the 3 main reasons that I put the IPR in the back, and you'll notice on my next, on the very final ClinCheck, I don't have any IPR in the front. Again, 1 virtual C-channel liner, we all know. So to predictably close the diastema. And again, I always keep on referring to the videos, but we spend so much time doing this. Why would I not refer to them? You know, watch the video, 5 steps to close a diastema. Number 1 would be that 0.2 millimeter fake IPR. It's just localized IPR that you don't do. That way it's just over closing. The reason being the iTero scan, or in a PVS, if you're still doing PVS, you can't pick up about a 0.2 millimeter space. So if you do the 0.2 millimeter fake IPR and you don't do it, it's just gonna really over close it, therefore giving you a nice tight finish when you are done. And then again, we're just gonna move the root tip of number 8 mesially a little bit more just to really make sure that this root tip translates and goes mesially all the way through the bone. And when we're done, well, first of all, let me go back to the original. And this is why facial photos are so important. And whoever took these photos actually did a phenomenal job. Look how much we're moving this midline. So again, here's another takeaway. When you're doing a ClinCheck, realize you're moving the teeth in someone's face. So you might look here and say, oh, that's awesome. You know, we're moving everything over, but is the patient's midline on or off at the beginning of treatment? So at the beginning of treatment, right, pupils, right down the middle of the face. And that's why the facial photos are so important. And we actually talk about that and work with that. Because imagine if this patient's midline was beautifully on, they smiled, all of a sudden, you didn't look at the facial photo, you just looked at the ClinCheck, and you just shifted her midline over about 5 millimeters. Patient comes in, says, gap's gone, I like it, my midline's off, can we fix it? That would be like a 10-month nightmare to fix that midline. Again, that's why the photos are so important. Hopefully, yeah, for sure, absolutely. And so what I do is make it big, and I'll just take, and this is what I do. If I was just doing this by myself, I would just do this. Go down, go down, go down. I'm like, yeah, it's kind of, is it on? I look really close. You know, I don't look at the nose, Tarek, right? You just look at right between the pupils, and you go straight down. You don't look at the nose. And certain midlines roughly on, because a lot of times you'll see people's noses that are off and a little bit crooked, so you can't line it up with the nose. Certain midline's pretty darn close. So in the end, I decided I did not want to move the midline over that much. So, let me get out of here.
Dr. Ryan, just so you're aware, we've got Michael off mute too.
Hi, Michael. Michael decided to come off mute after I complimented his photos. There we go. So in the end, let's see what we got here. So in the end, this is what we got. We left number 14 still. We're just kind of imagine the plastic is pushing 14 down and it's moving 12 and 13 mesially. So if anyone on this call wants to say, wait, Ryan, you're creating a space between 13 and 14, choose the lesser of the two evils, right? Is that absolute perfection? No. Is this patient going to be absolutely thrilled? I think so. I sure hope so. It's a life-changing smile. Could we eventually maybe use some elastics to bring it forward? Sure, it's going to add about another 9 months on top of this. I don't know if it's worth it or not. That would be, if this was my choice, I would just let it be as is. But that's the final outcome, right? And that's it. I know I went through this quick. I want to be respectful of everyone's time. We got 2 minutes left until we have to get off. But any questions about this? Any comments, concerns?
Dr. Ryan, if we don't have any questions from Michael specifically, oh, go ahead.
I'm sorry. Could you? I think I lost you on that part. Could you repeat that part where you maybe covered why 14 wasn't pushed up front at the same time? Could you go back to that?
Yeah, great question. So you'll see one of the most common things you'll see, and let me make this analogy. I work with docs all of a sudden that'll show me a ClinCheck after, and it's a huge posterior open bite. I look back, it started off as a full side posterior crossbite and it just wings it all the way out, it's never going to happen. There's certain movements that the ClinCheck will show absolutely predictable, but it doesn't happen in real life. For example, the end piece of plastic, Mike, is obviously the most thin. It has the least amount of force. So to be able to grip a molar with 3 roots and move it, not only move it, but translate it through the bone without tipping it, the most thin piece of plastic, it's just never going to happen. Could I get this tooth to translate? Let me go to first ClinCheck. Here they have it going over 32 trays. So could I get this tooth to translate? Again, thin piece of plastic. Look at this, coming through the bone. I don't know if I could get it in 55 trays. Why do I say that? Well, because I've tried and I failed lots of times. So then you just have to understand the biomechanics of it. You're asking the tray to pull that huge molar through the bone. Again, it's a lot of work for all those osteoclasts and osteoblasts, and it's just not going to clinically happen.
Thank you. If nobody has another question, I might as well. Can I jump in and ask another one that's kind of related to another topic that you covered? You said that you had one practice that was in an affluent location, another practice that was in a slightly less affluent location. Regardless of the affluence, I really wanted to kind of ask you, how have you? Pardon me, I'm just making this term up on the fly. Demographics proofed it. How does your method apply across different demographics, and what metric or what do you have maybe from experience or maybe from another doctor? How can you say that it's pretty much applicable and as successful as as it should be?
So Michael, that phenomenal question. I absolutely love it. There's 2 answers to it. Number one, both of my practices are 2 completely different locations. And I can say I've replicated the same success. But now for the past 2 years, we almost have 1,500 doctors in Moelis coaching. We have doctors in all 50 states, in all different demographics that it's worked for. So right now, the proof is with the docs in our community that it just works. Sure, we have docs in rural areas, cities, skyscrapers. I always like to say there's nothing that I do that makes me special, and it's true. This is reproducible. It's just a system that'll work with any demographic. Again, I'm in a completely different area, and I still experience the same success out of a 4-op practice. So, but again, most of our other docs in our community are having the same success.
Well, thank you so much. Really appreciate the video call. Thank you everyone on the call.
Well, listen, I appreciate everyone giving us your Tuesday night. Thank you so much, Samara, Tarek, Jeffy. Appreciate you guys being on. I appreciate my team. Trisha, I'll let you have the final words to thank everyone for joining in.
Yeah. So, I think the biggest thing, as you just mentioned, is number one, thank you so much for your time. But number two, the biggest thing that I can say from all of the territory managers that align is any challenges that you have in implementing something or where you're stuck, that's where we can point you. The great thing is we're all very, very acutely aware of every content within Moelis coaching and all the curriculum and everything there, because we have so many people involved with it. So, when you wake up tomorrow and you look at and you go into your practice, just be thinking and asking yourself, what do you think is holding you back? And share that with your territory manager. Let them share with you, hey, I agree, or I think this other thing is helping you or preventing you from being as successful. And just be open to implementing something and having it work, because it's evident in the 3 panelists today and over the past year that I've completely just really embraced it. So we're here to support you, and we appreciate all that you guys do. So thank you.
Thank you.
What I wanted to say is Moelis Coaching also has a guarantee. That's one of the things that I said to myself, okay, let's do it. Why not? They'll give me $1,000 back if I don't make like one more case or something like that. And then after doing it, I left it thinking, oh, I wasn't going to do one more case. I did so much more than one more case. So yeah, I'm happy I joined Models Coaching, and thank you for everything you guys do.
Thanks,
Yeah.
buddy. Appreciate you guys.
Thanks, guys. Have a great evening.
Thank you.
Thank
you.
you.
You too.
Guys.